Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today, Lieutenant Governor Ron Ramsey. Governor Ramsey, the governor has talked a lot about privatizing some state services, and recently the state put out a request for proposal about handling hospitality services in state parks, but they got no bidders. Were you surprised?
No, because I've been kind of watching the process it goes through. The problem was on that one in particular, you had the hotel motels grouped in with the golf courses. And I talked to some people who would be willing to bid on running our 8 golf courses, and actually the state would make money on that if we happened. And there are some that would run our hotels.
They seem to be in pretty bad shape.
Well, they all need. They have a lot of deferred maintenance. That's the whole problem with this, and how you write that contract of how you keep that up. And so the bottom line is you have the people, some that want to run the golf courses, some that want to run the hotels, but nobody wanted to run both. And that's the way it was written. It's two different skill sets. So I think you'll see, talking to the governor, we may rebid this and allow people to either bid on the golf course or bid on the hotels and the end, because you really do question the privatization sometimes gets a bad name. But let's think, does the state really need to be in the golf course business? We are. So how do we best manage that? Does the state really need to be in the lodge business, the hotel business, the cabin business, or is that something the private sector can run and we actually make money instead of costing money?
If the governor decides to proceed with some kind of privatization, should he bring it to the legislature? He has indicated he hasn't made the decision whether he's even going to bring it to you for approval. Should he?
I think he should, absolutely. I've talked to him strongly about that. This takes buying, and if you want this to work, then you need representatives and senators buying into this. Does he have to? That's debatable whether he does or not, because some of it can be done with rules within TDEC, Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. But I think if he wants it to work, you want buy-in, so I think it does need to come to the legislature.
A number of lawmakers are unhappy about the recent Supreme Court decision about same-sex marriage. They're talking about doing something, and there's a bill floating around to try to make sure that traditional marriage is reinstated in Tennessee and, I suppose, overturn the court ruling. But can they really do that? It seems federal law and federal court rulings pretty well trump state law.
It does. We're looking at every avenue. We are right now. We have some outside legal groups that be willing to represent the state of Tennessee and some suits against the federal government.
For free?
It's actually one does say they'll do it for free, but you always question what you can get for free. You know what I'm saying? And I'm an auctioneer. Anybody who auctions your property off for free, you probably don't want them. But so we're looking through all that and leaving all avenues open. Keep in mind that when the constitutional amendment was on the ballot, it passed with about 8 out of 10 Tennesseans voting for this. And I still believe today it may be down some, but it'd still be 7 out of 10. So I do believe that this is much, much, much more than just the gay marriage bill. This is for the first time in history that the steps that the Supreme Court have taken have bypassed the 10th Amendment, bypassed the Commerce Clause, and lots of other things. If you actually analyze the case and look at the dissenting arguments, I think is where the real interest is really interesting. That if this would continue and you sit this into some other venue, then you may be surprised what could come out of this.
Tennessee has a presidential preference primary coming up March 1st. I'm sure all the Republican candidates have been looking for your support. You've kind of indicated if you've narrowed your field down, it might be between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, and you might be leaning towards Ted Cruz. Do you plan to endorse or campaign for any?
I'm not going to endorse anybody. I wouldn't say I was even leaning that way. I was asking a little press avail a while back if I were to analyze this, who do I think it's down to? I really think it's down to 3 people. I do think it's Rubio, Cruz, and Trump. Trump still has the lead in the polls, but if you look back even just a couple of years ago, Howard Dean had a lead in the Democrat polls a few years back and obviously didn't win Iowa. When you go on and on, I do think Ted Cruz wins Iowa. I think he has the best organization there. What kind of momentum comes out of that, we're yet to see. You get into the southern states then, and I think that Cruz and Rubio have both been set up well in the southern states. So I can't predict anything, but if someone forced me to make a bet, right now maybe it would be Ted Cruz.
Well, you've kind of analyzed it also to say that you think there's a possibility of a brokered convention, which we've never had in many, many years.
That is always a possibility. The reason is this: usually by this time in a Republican primary, it's been narrowed down to 2 candidates, and you usually have the so-called establishment candidate and the conservative candidate. You go back for many years and see that. Well, now we're at 3, and you could argue, you could put 4 or 5 in there. I mean, Jeb Bush still has a lot of money. We get to southern states, Mike Huckabee's still very popular. So when you have at least 3, if not 5 or 6, then getting a majority becomes much tougher than it does when there's just two. And so that's the reason I think it is a possibility.
Any of the candidates, particularly if it's Donald Trump, you'd be comfortable with them being on the ballot in Tennessee with you and other people running for re-election in November?
Yes, because I know who I do not want to be president. Okay, I've been very plain about that. Obviously, I don't want Hillary Clinton to be the next president of the United States, so I'll be comfortable with any of the Republican nominees.
You expect to keep a large supermajority in the Senate? Can it get larger than 28 out of 33?
I'd say we're about where we are. There's 2 here in Davidson County and 3 in Shelby County of the Democrats, and 28 to 5 is about it.
And you're going to seek re-election?
Oh yeah, I plan on doing that right now, and so
that
yeah, that'll all.
Despite the long commute that you have every week to come over here.
And obviously it goes past that. I've got grandchildren. I'll be honest with you, Pat. I sat down 4 years ago, sat on my back porch, said I'm not going to do this again. And then you think about the things you haven't finished, the things I like to serve out the rest of the time with Bill Haslam. He's been a great governor. So yes, my plan is now to run again. That's the decision I'll have to make finally in March, but that's where I'm leaning now. Yes.
Governor Ramsey, thank you as always for coming on the show. We'll have you back hopefully during the session.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us on Inside Politics. Hope you'll be back here again for a future show. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's a new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.